is Nezar AlSayyad. He is the chair of the Center for Middle Eastern Studies at the University of California at Berkeley, and he joins us live. Professor AlSayyad, welcome back to Bloomberg's Bottom Line. Good to have you on once again.
Thank you, Mark.
Sir, you've been hearing these conflicting reports. What is your first analysis of the situation? Do you believe that Hosni Mubarak will in fact resign today?
Well, I think that it's very difficult to know. We have to wait for an hour to know that. But I think the most important thing here, which has not really been talked about quite extensively, is the statement that came out of the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces, which they actually called Statement Number 1. And it's very interesting if you analyze this very specific statement. It actually has echoes of what the Army issued on July the 23rd of 1952, when, in fact, the Army engaged in a coup that ultimately removed King Farouk from power. And it appears to me that a clear analysis of that statement shows that either the Army has decided to completely side with the protesters, or at least it is sending a very strong signal to Mubarak and possibly even to Omar Suleiman that they will no longer continue to play the neutral role that they have been playing.
Professor,
so I think that this is the most important development that has gone on.
Professor, I was just asking our previous guest, Richard Falkenroth of the Chertoff Group. I asked him about the power vacuum. If Mr. Mubarak does stand down this evening, who fills that role? Will it be Mr. Suleiman? And I would assume that because he was handpicked by President Mubarak, he does not have the support of the people who are protesting.
Yes, I believe that that's exactly what Richard said, and he was completely right in that regard. Because I think that if you think about it, the history of Suleiman does not give him any credibility, except, of course, with some of his Western counterparts, whether in the United States or Israel or Europe, that he's been dealing with. But aside from that, he is definitely considered Mubarak's right-hand man. And if, in fact, Mubarak were to pass on the responsibilities to him, I believe that the protests would likely to continue in the street. Now, of course, the other option here, which Suleiman himself has already at least indicated is a possibility, is the term that he used, which is inqilab, which actually means a coup. Now, I don't know if when he used that term a few days ago, he meant that he will engage in a coup or that he will be removed as a result of a coup by the Egyptian army, from which he comes, but partly from which he's been separated, because as you probably know, he's been in charge of the Mukhabarat, which is the security apparatus of the Mubarak regime, for some 20 years or so. So in a sense, he's no longer, and has not been, at least for the past 2 decades, a principal operative in the Egyptian armed forces.
Right. Professor AlSayyad, in our final minute, what is Hosni Mubarak's legacy in Egypt? He rose to power, a lot of people may not recall, but he was actually standing next to Anwar Sadat when Mr. Sadat was assassinated, and then Mr. Mubarak rose to power, and he had the backing of the people then. What went wrong? How did this go off the rails, to use a Western term?
I think what simply went wrong is that power corrupts. He has been in power for a very long time. He was never challenged. He created a system in which there was no opposition whatsoever. He felt that that is the system that will sustain him. He failed to see the signs. That is basically what went wrong. He could have easily decided this past November, when the elections happened, to allow a free election, as he partially did in 2005. Instead, he actually went back on many of his promises. The regime became more repressive. It didn't allow for any fundamental constitutional change, which is what was expected. And I think that his gravest mistake was he just simply did not read the cards right.
Nezar AlSayyad, Chair of Middle Eastern Studies at Cal Berkeley, joining us. Professor, always good to have you on. Thanks so much for your perspective. We appreciate it.